I had a
Yeah.
question about duplicate content.
Mhm.
So prior to my SEO, I worked for a TV station, and I was the internet content producer, and I was in charge of whenever there was an AP story about a NASCAR race, and so I always work Sundays, and so when the NASCAR race was done, I'd copy and paste the AP story, put it on my website, and with a click of a button, I can publish it on 30 different websites within our sister with that we're all owned by the same company.
Mhm.
How did Google handle that? Was I harming all of our sister affiliates by having the same piece of content on all the websites, or how does Google handle something like an AP news story that's on dozens of different websites?
So I guess what would happen at the moment is we would recognize that these pages are all unique. And we would look at the page overall. We'd see like, oh, this is this TV station, and here's the body of the article. And we'd see that these pages were essentially unique, and we'd try to index these all separately.
Okay.
And what would happen when someone searches for something that's within this kind of copy block of text, we try to pick one of these pages and show that in the search results. So ideally, the most relevant one for that user, maybe if we can recognize from the location, maybe something matching, or maybe they
Gotcha.
have like a slight tweak in the query, and we show that one. But from an ideal point of view, if you're doing this now, what I'd recommend is picking one primary source and using the rel canonical tag on there to make sure that you're saying, well, I have it on these 30 news sites, but actually this is the one that I want to have shown in search.
Hmm.
And by having the rel canonical
Yeah.
there, you're really strengthening that version. Instead
Yeah.
of having all of these different copies that are competing with each other, you're saying this is the one that's really important for me. Maybe that's the local one for the news, or maybe
Yeah.
that's the one that monetizes best, or whatever you have there.
Yeah, it's because even still, I mean, that was for national stories, but even like local stories, we had a station in Lafayette, Terre Haute, Indianapolis, Dayton, Ohio, all with geographically located close to each other. And so if something happened in Dayton, we'd share it with all of the local stations. And if the president came to Indianapolis would share it out to all these other ones. And I don't know, I
Yeah.
always wondered how Google kind of handled that. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I think the important part there is that we try not to penalize websites for this kind of setup, because it's really common.
Yeah.
And the more common one is even like www or non-www. You have the
Right.
same content. It's like, duh, most websites have that somehow, some way or another. And we try to figure out a technical way to handle that. And that's kind of what we do with filtering things out and trying to pick the right one in the search results. The one situation where we would kind of take more manual action from a web spam point of view, if we see one website is really purely copying content from other websites. And that's something where we'd say it's really not worthwhile to crawl and index this website at all. It's purely just a copy, it's scraped or it's spun content.
Right.
And that's something we can drop completely. But if these are legitimate copies of the same website and the same content and it's legitimate pages, that's perfectly fine.